Howdy, y'all. I'm a little exhausted, and I know this one's coming a little bit late. I just really haven't had any free time at all to actually record and edit. But I'm here now. Sleep Token, am I right? We'll definitely talk about that next month, but we're going to be covering the listens for April. This one's a little shorter, like I didn't really listen to much at all in terms of full-length releases in April, so this will go by a little quickly. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. First up, we've got Daft Punk's Alive 2007. This was such a trailblazer with the when it came to the rise of electronic dance music in the late 2000s and the early 2010s. If you are familiar with the history of Daft Punk, or I think it was like Coachella or something like that, that they ended up headlining in like '06, '07, they just blew everybody's minds, and like they were touring at that time, and this is basically what this album it represents around that time, and it is great. The transitions, the mixing, the blending of all their songs up to that point, it's absolutely excellent. It goes so hard, it's so hype. Yeah, I miss them a whole lot. This was I think this album even won a Grammy. Absolutely excellent album. Strongly recommend. Then I revisited a modern thrash classic, Lazarus AD with The Onslaught. I actually had this on CD back in the day, and I'm sure it's still around here somewhere, but it is just straight bare bones thrash. Does suffer a little bit from the loudness war, but the songs are great. It's very, very standard cut of the cloth modern thrash, but it really does go hard. Last Breath, Thou Shalt Not Fear, Revolution, Lust. Easily my favorite song is Absolute Power. I go back to that song a whole hell of a lot. Like, very riffy album. That song in particular goes hard. Then revisited, of course, one of my favorite albums ever now, Carnival's Themata. I've talked about it extensively in previous listens of the month. Strongly recommend it. Check it out if you haven't. Don't sit on it. Don't sleep on it. Do sit on it after you listen to it for sure. Next up, Morbid Angel and Heretic. A very strange album for sure. The production is crap. You can't really hear any bass. There are very odd industrial like passages and interludes. Not so much of songs here, but the songs that are on here do kind of go hard, but they just really suffer from like lack of memorability, but especially production. I do not recommend this one. So that was a first time listen for me, as is this one, Deaf Heaven with Roads to Judah. Really enjoyed this one, actually. Very, very well put together. Decently produced black metal. I really dig the song Violet. The album flows really well. It was very, very much enjoyable. I did like it a whole hell of a lot. Then, I believe this album celebrated a birthday. 30th birthday, honestly, back in April. Tool's Undertow. If you haven't heard this album, like if anything, like by Tool, check it out, please. You are missing out. It is a classic. It's easily their most angsty and aggressive sounding stuff. Simpler songs compared to the rest of their catalog. There's really not enough time to go over just how good this album is and how timeless a lot of the songs are. Yeah, check it out if you haven't yet. Strongly recommend. Also strongly recommend this one, Opeth, Ghost Reveries. Give it a re-listen because it's arguably my favorite Opeth album. Love it to death from front to back. It's so good. Referee Harlequin Force is probably my favorite song on here, but there's no duds on here whatsoever. The production is immaculate. The performances are great. Lots of memorable little hooks and stuff. It really is just like a magnum opus when it comes to these guys, and they have a few of them for sure. Then dived deep into this album, listened to it more than once. It's Mac Miller's The Divine Feminine. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of this album as, say, other releases from him. This is coming off the heels of Good AM, which was a very, very focused and direct, very well-produced album, coming off of the more depressive Faces and Watching Movies with the Sounds Off. And while I appreciate what he was going for on this one, which is just basically just an all-out tribute to femininity, the divine feminine, the beauty of women, I guess you could say. And the execution is more or less shaky. I think a lot of stuff here works, but a lot of stuff kind of doesn't. Like, some of the lyrics come off as like way too crude to be seen as like romantic. While I love a lot of the production on here and some of the beats, I would say the weakest link is Mac himself. Like, there are songs I really just don't care for, like Soulmate or Congratulations. I mean, it's not that there are bad songs on here, it's just the execution is a little off. But I do love Dang, I love Skin. I love the hook for Stay. God is Fair, Sexy Nasty has one of my favorite beats that he's ever done. But easily, I think my favorite track on here that actually captures the theme of this album like perfectly in terms of execution and performance and just songwriting in general would be We featuring CeeLo Green, who I am a giant fan of. I love CeeLo Green. We is easily one of Mac Miller's best tracks. I think it's my favorite track on here, like for sure. But overall, it falls short of several other projects that Mac has done. Rest in peace. Then I gave a listen to this little odd project of theirs, the Death Grips album, Government Plates. While a few of the songs on here are the hardest songs, like they go so hard that they've ever done, basically. The opening track, which I'm going to try to say the name of right now. You might think he loves you for your money, but I know what he really loves you for. It's your brand new leopard skin pillbox hat. One of my most top played songs, I think it was in 2021, according to Spotify, goes harder than a bag of bricks, as well as Anne Bonny and Two Heavens as well. Whatever I Want is great. But other than that, like there's just a lot of incomplete ideas, and there's not much MC Ride on this album. I don't think it's bad at all, but it definitely falls short when it comes to other releases of theirs. I gave it more than a few listens in April. Same as this one. I love this EP so much. Tesseract, Concealing Fate. I've touched on it before in other videos. If you haven't heard it yet, please give it a listen. It is absolutely great. At the very least, listen to the first 3 parts. Then I gave, I think I listened to this like for the first time in like a decade. Sleep's Dope Smoker, a legend in the realm of stoner metal sludge, I guess you could say. Doom-ish. I don't know. It's definitely stoner for sure. Very repetitive but effective, I guess you could say. The production is okay. It's definitely one that you just melt into. It's like a whole hour-long song, and it's there's a reason why it's a profound release, and it's widely regarded critically in the genre. Then I also gave a listen to the latest actual album with vocals on it, I guess you could say, from 9 Inch Nails and Bad Witch. And I love this project. I love it a whole bunch. It's basically the 3rd EP in a series of EPs they did in the late 2010s. Even though it's slightly long, that's why they made it like an album instead. But I digress. It's hard to say whether this is my favorite of the 3, not the actual events, Add Violence, then this, Bad Witch, because it really is good. Love Shit Mirror, love Ahead of Ourselves, Play the Goddamn Part, the layers of horns, just the whole vibe of this album is immaculate. It's not captured any more perfectly than I think on the song God Break Down the Door. Love Over and Out. That song could easily fit on maybe With Teeth or Year Zero. Love this one. Also love the hell out of this one. Perfect Circle with the acoustic sessions. This is like a little bootleg release of theirs, I believe. And I think they recorded it like exclusively for a rock station in Washington State. And it's great, honestly. I love the performance of Sleeping Beauty on here, as well as Weak and Powerless and The Outsider. Not to mention Orestes. I love these guys to death. Then gave a listen to the newest album from Che Amy Dorval, The Ground. She is one half of Casualties of Cool, the project with Devin Townsend. That's how I know about her. Huge simp for her, honestly. I love this. I love this record. The production is there. The songs are there. It's definitely a lot to dissect, but it kind of reminds me of an Adele record in a way. I think it was just like a little bit more direction and production. Like Che Amy Dorval could really break out into the mainstream upon her next record, because there's a whole lot of potential here. Love He Sorta Loves Me and Falling Under, those are definitely standouts for sure. Moving on from there, because there was a tour announcement of the aforementioned Devin Townsend along with Dream Theater and Animals as Leaders, I started to finally get a move on with going through the entire discography of Dream Theater. This is their first album, When Dream and Day Unite. This one's a little rough. The production is not fully there. Their sound isn't fully recognized, but the talent sure is. This is with the original vocalist. And there's not too many memorable spots on this album. It's a bit lacking when it comes to their later material. They definitely have better songs than this. It's not a bad album, but it's not very good either. Overall, I do not recommend it. Still listen to it twice, just to absorb it. And from Deftones, upon the 20th anniversary of White Pony, they had each of the songs on White Pony remixed by various artists. I would say the standouts for me are probably Passenger. I think Mike Shinoda remixes that. Pink Maggot, the Square Pusher remix is excellent. I think my favorite overall has to be the Purity Ring remix of Knife Party. Absolutely gorgeous. After that, gave the first Jesus Piece EP a listen. Goes super hard. Like, these guys are really, really aggressive hardcore. They really know how to just beat the crap out of your face without relenting at all. Really enjoyed it. After that, we have Alice in Chains Unplugged. Strongly recommend this one. Absolutely love the performances on here. The story behind the album is like just as good. You know, Jerry Cantrell actually had food poisoning, and Lane Staley was a little bit washed up because he wasn't really performing much. He was dealing with heroin pretty badly. Like, he actually made sure to do some before the show, but he still sounded really good. Just the first two songs alone, Nutshell and To Brother, are just absolutely excellent. And then songs later on in the set, like Got Me Wrong, Down in a Hole, absolutely great. Spellbinding, Frogs as well. Yeah, love this record, love this album. Then gave a re-listen to Melting Sun from Lantelos. Love these guys. This is their more post-rock, post-metal transition from their black metal roots. And it pays off so well. The production is great. The songs are amazing. The soundscapes, it's just pure bliss. I strongly recommend this. I've probably touched on it before in other videos. I love it to death. Azure Chimes, Cherry Quartz, Jade Towers, magnificent for sure. And this month saw the release of the long-awaited and anticipated new album from Metallica, 72 Seasons. And I think it's okay. I think if they just sat and let these songs cook a bit longer, focus on them a bit more, they would have been higher quality in terms of engagement. I think there's a lot of good stuff here, but not a lot of great stuff. I think Lux Eterna is still one of the better tracks on here. The title track's actually pretty damn good. Still kind of on the fence about if Darkness Had a Sun, if they just like sped it up or like made the intro less basic and generic and like a bit more exciting, because it just sounded more like a slowed down intro to Hardwired. There was so much potential on this album. I don't know if the payoff was as good. I will say Room of Mirrors and Too Far Gone are easily a couple of the best songs on here. You could even argue Inamorata, which is too long, but it goes through a lot of cool changes. The transition into the harmonic, the harmonies, the harmony section was actually really cool. Yeah, overall they've done better. I don't hate it. I would say that Kirk was probably the weakest factor on the album. While I did like a lot of his leads when it comes to like melodies, just outright soloing, a lot of it was very, very phoned in. I don't feel like a lot of it was very, I guess, ironed out, I guess you could say. I think James shines the most on the record for sure. Hopefully it's not their last, because I still think these guys have so much potential. Like, they've done greatness before. I don't think this is it. It's not bad though. I listened to this one more than once for sure to digest it, as I mean it's brand new. So then I revisited Nine Inch Nails with Pretty Hate Machine. First album from theirs, way ahead of its time, but it's also a sign of the time that this was released, 1989. A lot of synth pop influence at the time, a la maybe Duran Duran or Depeche Mode, but it has such an edge to it that, like, of course, was just expanded upon their career. I still have a whole lot of songs from this album. Head Like a Hole, Something I Could Never Have is great. The Only Time, Sin, Sanctified, really shows the early genius of Trent Reznor. And I gave a revisit to Pop Culture, the EP from Knocked Loose. Really dig this one. Really rough, no pun intended, because of the dog. Love the Gospel. Love revisiting that one. All My Friends is a favorite, and I think the re-recording of that one is even better. Yeah, 5 songs that go super hard and it sticks with you, even if the production quality is a bit lacking. And Brian's vocals aren't as impactful as they would later go on to be through their career. And for nostalgia's sake, gave a revisit to Supernatural from Santana. Really inconsistent album. It has its high points and low points. There's songs I definitely don't care about, like the Everlast song, Put Your Lights On. A couple songs later in the track listing, but smooth as overplayed as it is, it's still a great track. I love the guitar hooks. They're great. Yaleo has always been a favorite of mine from this. Migra as well. It's just the instrumentation, the vibe, the energy, just absolutely great. Same goes for Maria Maria. I would even say, Do You Like the Way? As directionless as that song is, I still like the beat behind it. The CeeLo Green feature is good, as well as the Lauryn Hill feature, obviously. Yeah, first time I ever heard CeeLo Green, I would even think. Yeah, not a bad album at all. Just lots of hits and misses. Then, finally getting started with these guys, August Burns Red, and their first EP, Looks Fragile After All. While the production is lacking compared to their other stuff, the energy is there. These songs go really, really hard. It's a decent starting off point from them. I look forward to continuing their discography. I gotta do with a whole lot of bands. Just out of curiosity, I want to see how a lot of bands evolve, and the same goes for these guys. After that, we got Kubla Khan with Absolute. Yeah, words can't express how brutal these songs are. Absolutely crushing, relentless, angry, pissed off beyond belief. Yeah, this was a first time listen for me, and still, boom slang, self-destruct, us and them, the truest love. This album is absolutely spine crushing. Don't sleep on it. Same goes for these guys, Jesus, Peace, and Only Self. I can easily see why these guys are highly regarded, especially by Max Cavalera, who points to these guys as one of his favorite bands of modern metal. And it's not hard to see why. Lucid, Workhorse, the absolutely brutal Curse of the Serpent that I go back to often. It's great. This whole album's great. Then, the sequel to UKF Summer Drum and Bass, Volume 2. It's like I mentioned before when talking about the first one. I think this was released just as an excuse to have 2 different drum and bass compilations released in the same year. Because the first one, I don't think really had many summer-esque vibes to it. But I think this one does a little bit better in capturing that. There are a lot more songs on here that I enjoyed and did make my playlist compared to the first one. So yeah, not a bad compilation. And this album reminds me of good times, nostalgia for sure. Late 2016, early 2017 especially. The 2016 album from deadmau5, or as I like to call it at the time, W:/2016 album / just for the memes. And yeah, while it's not as bold and experimental as the album before it, While One Is Less Than Two, there's still a lot of quality songs on here. Imaginary Friends is one that he still drops live to this day. I saw him play that when I saw him back in October. I love Aware. I love Cat Thruster. I would say my favorite song of this probably has to be Snow Cone, for sure. I've gone back to that one so many damn times. Really good. Next, gave a first time listen to Dream Theater and their album Images and Words. Easy to see how this is a landmark album, highly regarded in prog metal in general. Because this really, back in 1992, this was definitely pointed to as an album that set the stage for a lot of bands to come, and it's easy to see why. Literally every single song is good. Yeah, it's easy to see why Pull Me Under was such a big hit, because it's such a damn good song. And the whole album's great too. Strongly recommend. And this one I listened to more than once in April. Next, we got See You Space Cowboy with The Romance of Affliction. Now, this one's pretty much just as brutal as anything they've done before it. I think it's still considered their latest release. But there's a lot more melody on this one, a whole lot more hooks, and I guess singing compared to the other albums. It's still very much brutal. It's a relentless album. Love to death. It's a great release for sure. Then we got the newest one from Jesus, Peace, So Unknown. This is just as good as Only Self, in my opinion. It goes really, really hard. If you're feeling pissed off, this is something that you can put on and just bask in the glory of its violent sound. It's really great. A very worthy follow up to Only Self. Then, oh my god, am I getting into these guys so hard. Sleep Token with Sundowning. I strongly recommend this one. I've only listened to it more and more since April, and yeah, it is amazing. The production is absolutely immaculate. The songs are amazing. I go back to The Offering very often. The Night Does Not Belong to God is such a beautiful song, great opening track. Even some of the more catchier songs like Sugar is so damn good. I love Dark Signs. I love Higher. Love Levitate. It's such a good album. Bloodsport. Don't sleep on these guys. No pun intended. I gave a revisit to the Space EP from The Devil Wears Prada. This is a really good EP. It's really solid front to back. It's an easy listen. Obviously, it's only 6 songs, I think. Yeah, Planet A, just I had that opening sequence, the opening riff stuck in my head, and I was like, all right, let's give this another listen. And it's really good. It's honestly really great. After that, we got the first half of Death Grips' The Powers That Be, Fellows on the Moon. A really solid release. Only 8 songs. It goes by like that, but great tracks on it. Up My Sleeves, Billy Not Really, Have a Sad Come BB. I think my favorite song probably has to be Say Hey Kid. It's a really solid album for sure. Gave this one multiple listens. It was really great seeing some of these songs performed live too. Then we got Chevelle with The North Corridor. Also really great to revisit this one. I listen to Joyride Omen so often. It goes very, very hard. Well, there are other great songs on here too. Enemies, Young Wicked, Warhol Showbiz. Also, the song Door to Door Cannibals still goes really hard. I gave a first time listen, like actually all the way through, to Project 56 from deadmau5. This goes to show that there are a lot of producers out there, myself included, that have so many just incomplete songs sitting on their hard drives and whatnot that, went nowhere, had no direction. And yeah, there are 56 tracks in here, hence the name. A few of which did end up going on to become actually fully fledged songs. But yeah, I think this is definitely before 2005, so pretty much everything in the several years before that just collected and put on here, and there's a few neat ideas. Of course, it's just like throwaway stuff, but really interesting though. Then gave a re-listen to Remission from Mastodon, and while a few of the songs on here are just like the heaviest ever that they've made, there are some that just kind of drag on, like some more clean and acoustic passages that don't really go anywhere. They just kind of drag. But damn, the brutality of Crusher Destroyer, Where Strides the Behemoth, Mother Puncher, Burning Man, and my favorite, Mars of the Fire Ants. Just undeniable, for sure. Then, gave this one a listen for the first time, The Moth Gatherer with A Bright Celestial Light. I think it pales in comparison to Esoteric Oppression. The production is a bit lacking, but there's still decent stuff on here. I ended up liking the I think the song's called The Woe, The Woman, The Womb. I could be wrong on that, but not a bad album. Then listen to Thursday from The Weeknd, and I remember not getting so much out of it. I mean, it's not a bad album. Like I did like aspects of it, but just low energy, not much memorability, and it just didn't do too much for me. But it's not terrible for sure. And then this album, holy crap! For a while, I've wanted to actually like revisit this one, dive deep into it, because I think I've only heard it like once, apart from a handful of songs, particularly The Blacker the Berry, which I absolutely love and have heard several times. This album is a friggin' masterpiece by every stretch of the imagination. If you don't know what this is, it's Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. It's like a play production or like a movie of sorts. It is absolutely incredible. I absolutely love this album. Literally every single song on here is fantastic. Strongly recommend. This is my album of the month, hands down. Do not sleep on this album. Then another one I strongly recommend, and I love going back to, Mudvayne with LD50. This is one of the best albums released in the era of nu metal, as it were. The whole album is so great. Every song is really good or great or fantastic. Whether it be Dig, aka Burr Gang, or -1, Internal Primates Forever, Prod, Nothing to Gain. or my favorite, Death Blooms. It's such a good ass album. Strongly recommend. Definitely check it out. Then, in between both parts of The Powers That Be and Upon the Way of Jenny Death Grips put out this instrumental album, Fashion Week. And there's a lot of cool beats on here, for sure. It's not the best, but it's still really neat. Every song is called Runway, but next to it is a letter that spells out, as you go down the track list, Jenny Death When, because a lot of fans at the time were wondering about, like, when it's going to be released. And this was just to hold them over. And it's pretty good. I like a few of the beats on here for sure. So April saw the release of the newest album from Ison. And if you've been following the channel long enough, you would know how much I love these guys. This is the album Stars and Embers. Strongly recommend it. It's so well done. It's so beautiful. I think it's better than Aurora. It's a bit more consistent, and it does have a bit more of the edge that the later or the earlier albums had, while still maintaining, just pure cosmic bliss. It's really like a culmination of all the sounds that they've done up until this point, and the payoff is so well. I think it's very well done. Yeah, great album. Dream Theater with Awake, a bit more edgier than Images and Words. I don't know if the overall quality of the album is on point with it, but I did enjoy this one quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to hearing songs like The Mirror and Lie live, because those songs are actually really damn good. Definitely listen to this more than once to absorb it, and yeah. Then we got Sleep Token with This Place Will Become Your Tomb. In my opinion, I think it is weaker than Sundowning. The first half of the album is definitely far more on point than the second half, aside from the song High Water, which I really enjoy. But songs like Alkaline, I have been playing on repeat. It's so good. The Love You Want is gorgeous. Hypnosis, the middle of the song kind of drags a bit until the climax of at the end. It's so good. Atlantic is beautiful. There's really like more dark aspects of this album, I guess you could say. Still, love these guys a whole bunch. Maybe want to re-listen to I Let It In and It Took Everything. I love this record. I strongly recommend it. It is a bit of a whiplash album, I guess you could say, because it goes from just straight up aggression, just brutality, weird, just chaotic passages and riffs, to utter bliss and beauty, like on Two-Way Mirror and Is It Really You. But yeah, absolute crushers like New Faces in the Dark, Gourd, Heavy is the Head That Falls with the Weight of a Thousand Thoughts. I think my favorite song on here, apart from Two-Way Mirror, has to be Screaming. I've been going back to that song a whole hell of a lot. Really great album. Same goes for this one. Wheel, Moving Backwards, from front to back. It's really, really good, well crafted. They really, really tried in putting together just a real cohesive prog rock, prog metal landmark in their career, I believe. This is their first full length, and I can't tell you how many times I've come back to the song Wheel, like the actual song, and Vultures. Yeah, this whole album is really great. Strongly recommend. Then, since Animals as Leaders got announced with Devin Townsend and Dream Theater on tour, gave a re-listen to their newest album, finally, and it's really good. It's really short. I don't think it's their strongest batch of songs, but it's Animals as Leaders, so you know that the songs are going to be high quality. The songwriting and the performances are going to be unfriggin' matched. Really, really dug it for sure. Can't wait to see them again. That is it. That is the month of April. Not nearly as much as other months, but hey, getting through these is actually kind of exhausting. But I love discussing music with everybody. So, if you like talking about music, if you are a lot more well-groomed than I am, or if you just like metal and going hard like I do, or just sinking into some other beautiful music, which could be brutal, then hit the like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't, check out my other videos if you haven't or not. It just doesn't matter, as long as you enjoy.